Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voices clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better system, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Prediction Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. Switches, streaming, mics and light, making every moment land just right. Guests and makers join the conversation, bringing insight, crafting innovation. From the first idea to the final frame, every tool can change the game. Manufacturers, pros and brands, sharing real solutions firsthand. Live or hybrid, room or remote. Every cue and every note. Smarter workflow, stronger shows. That's the way the power grows. It's the Prediction Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour. When the pressure's on, we raise the game. New ideas and trusted names. Every week another view. Fresh tech, fresh talk. Something new. It's the Prediction Professionals Power Hour, where ideas and technology flower. For the shows that need to shine, for the moments that go live on time. From the gear rack to the control room view, we bring the best straight through to you. Step inside the futures now. Welcome to the Power Hour.
Um, at the beginning of this week, I declared war on software that doesn't talk to software, to apps that don't communicate with apps, to hardware that thinks it can live on its own. You may not have heard much about this revolution, and that's because it's got a fundamental flaw. Everybody agrees with me. That's not what I expected. I've got more controversial as the week's gone on, and still I get people say, yeah. So what's this all about? Well, we have reached, I believe, a tipping point in the technology. Thanks to AIs, APIs, OSC. These are all technologies to intercommunicate between devices. We've got an interesting war going on at the moment with protocols for video. We have Blackmagic sailing away with their own version of 2110. we have some guys talking about another technology which they haven't really announced yet, so I'm not going to announce it either, but they are talking about communicating together in the cloud. I think NDI has been around forever, well, certainly for a long while, but it seems to be acting at the moment as if it's just reappeared. Then, of course, there's our friends in Australia who've decided that they want to bring out their protocol that they've been sitting on for ages. Now, I'm going to give my fellow speaker plenty of warning because Mike Latta is potentially in the firing line for this because he is a distributor of some quite cool hardware. And the question is going to be, will he be able to stand up and be counted as for my revolution or against? I think it's for, but we'll let him say that for himself. This is why I believe we are at a tipping point. AI is still a bubble waiting to burst, and there's a load of rubbish about AI. But AI for coding has got to the level now, and I don't believe all this rubbish about it can hack everything. That's just rubbish. And I'll quite happily argue with Sam Altman or any of them about that. What I'm talking about is the simple ability of AI now to actually write usable software code. Now, I don't mean it could make a new version of PowerPoint or it could replace some great app. I'm talking about the simple little apps to do tiny little things. And I've got an example of it downstairs, but actually it would be too complicated to demonstrate to you. So I'm just going to explain the world that I lived in downstairs to try and give you an example of how this revolution can work. Like many of us, I reside on the world of PowerPoint, and I like PowerPoint. It's reliable, mostly, and it works okay. But the problem is that I can't have PowerPoint and Zoom and all my other tools all on one machine. It's just not practical. I mean, there's not enough acreage on my screens to see all the apps, let alone run them at the same time. So I distribute them around my systems. And of course, if you do that, you don't have to have a top-of-the-range machine, do you? Because each of the apps can run in a machine that's suitable to it. And PowerPoint with graphics isn't that complicated. But I like to show people how you can get rid of an entire team and run a webinar with 1 or 2 or 3 of you. And to do that, you need automation. And that doesn't mean me looking down and getting a PowerPoint slide to move. I need it to happen automatically or invisibly when I press my foot on an Elgato foot button, maybe. So the question is, how do I get slides to move around when I'm not in front of the machine that's moving them around? Now, I have to confess that I fixed this problem 3 years ago, because 3 years ago, I looked at the plugins for remote controlling a PowerPoint slideshow using a clicker or another tool remotely. And I wrote my own version of the code. But of course, I had to do it on my own. I had to write my own code. I had to take code that other people had used and I had to write it myself, line by line. And it took me about a week to understand how it all worked and then to build it, because I don't build in C that often. I don't use those sort of languages. I don't use .NET. Most of the time, I'm a JavaScript guy. But I did the same thing again a month ago. And it took me one day because I knew what I needed. I had an example of what I needed. And now AI is clever enough to take that and make it work. Although many of you will laugh if I tell you that it broke this morning. And the reason it broke was that I used the companion plugin as my example code, because we all love the Bitfocus companion, and I thought it was going to be well written. I'll use that as the template. Seemed like a good idea. Well, it was until I discovered this morning that the AI hadn't renamed all of the values and variables in the app that it created for me. So as soon as I installed the companion plugin, they both started arguing over what they were going to do, and they conflicted. And I found that all my variables were named like the companion variables. So the two plugins together crashed. Which is why you can't just give anybody an AI tool nowadays. It's not that clever yet. So after about probably about 3 hours of me arguing with AI, well, in other words, telling it off and then leaving it for 5 minutes to go and find out what it did wrong, and then coming back and telling it what it's done still wrong. And then eventually we got, after about 3 hours of me, moseying by and leaving it to it, we got it fixed. So it can now work with the two plugins together. So we can have my plugin, we can have the Stream Deck plugin in the same machine. Then I have another plugin I've written, which of course we will call an add-in, and that now sits in PowerPoint. And we can press a key on a Stream Deck, which could be the one under my feet, and we can make a slide change. But of course, it's my app now. And this is where we get to the nub of this revolution. You see, I took a working app and I converted it to what I needed. But I wanted to go further. So I now have a command. I can give it a file name, and I can create a button with that file name, and I can press the button and it will load a new file into my PowerPoint. So I can now run multiple PowerPoints through my Stream Deck plugin. I can start, I can stop presentations. I can do the blank button to make it go blank. I can go forward and I can go backwards. And I have a little button called status. And status will tell me the name of the PowerPoint slides that are running and which slide number we're on and how many slides are in the whole kit. By the way, thank you, Mike, because I think you reminded me that I needed the number of slides in the deck to be reminded of. So I have all those buttons, and I've even thought of a couple of other ideas that I now want to do with it. But that's for another day. This is the nub of the point. We now have the technology available to us as creators, broadcasters, content creators, whatever you are, wherever you are abouts in this industry. We now have the power to say, I am not going to accept what you give me because I can make it better. I can make it work for me. The software industry, the hardware industry is about to have a really big lesson, because we now have the power to change the technology to suit what we want. And the thing is, if they don't offer APIs, OSC, add-in abilities, abilities to make a plugin or whatever, if they have a closed system that we can't communicate with, we're not going to use them. We're going to dump those products. Because when you create an event, as my friend Ray very beautifully described on our show on Tuesday, you've got to invite all the people. You've got to make sure all the speakers are going to turn up. You've got to make sure all the preparation is done. There's nothing in any of the apps that allows you to do that to a proper degree. They might allow you to load a few names in, Zoom can, but none of them allow you to properly manage your customers. And at the other end, you want to know who's turned up. You want the reports. Again, they're not perfect. They're pretty good, but they're not perfect. And we want them to work. There are loads of developers who are spending hours and hours and hours getting all of these webinars, looking at the data and transferring it into whatever CRM they have. And if they can't, they're not going to use the CRM or they're not going to use the webinar software. Why? Because simply, you don't want to spend 90% of your time doing the glue, downloading, uploading data from one place to another. There are APIs, there's Zapier, there's AI. You can automate the whole lot and you automate it to your system. And if it doesn't work, you're more likely to dump that supplier and go and find somebody else. And this is the second warning now. There are many manufacturers out there who are in creep mode. You've got audio manufacturers who think they can do video now. You've got video manufacturers who think they can do audio. You've got camera manufacturers who do little cameras, who think they can do professional cameras. You've got professional camera manufacturers who think they can do little cameras. Well, all I can say to you is one word: Adobe. What do I mean by that? If you don't have a core product that you are working on to be unique and different in the marketplace, if you become a be all and end all to everybody, you have nothing. Because unless you have something that's of value above everybody else, everything you do can be replaced. And what's the added value we can have as production professionals? The ability to do everything from one end to the other. So we are the antithesis of what the suppliers need to be. They need to be experts in one particular thing that we can make use of. And then we find the expert in something else and we put our jigsaw together of our products, taking the best of the market that suits our needs. And our expertise is to put the whole lot together and to make it work as one. That way, we don't need to have an enormous group of people to create stuff. And that's the problem we have now. There are not enough of us. There are too many jobs. We need to find ways to automate our world. We need to find ways to make the whole system work without needing an army of people, because there isn't an army of people out there. And in that way, you will not be replaced by AI. No chance. Because they can't do it. You can use AI to help you glue your bits together, but AI can't replace you. There are AI tools in almost every single piece of software I see now, but they're just to enable you to make that particular app work better. They're not going to help you do the end-to-end. And we need to be able to provide an end-to-end solution that works. Because quite frankly, once you've got that, you can stop calling it the Blackmagic production system, the Zoom webinar system. You just put your own name on it. Because These are now just tools, Lego bricks or jigsaw pieces, whichever you like, whichever analogy suits you. And they are what makes it work. We haven't been able to do this before unless we were absolute genius, top of the range software developers. Now, it's more important to understand what the process will be and how you can make that happen than actually how you write each line of code. I'll be honest, it takes longer writing code with AI than if you know what you're doing. Because there have been times this morning when I asked ChatGPT to make a change, and I basically could have done it with finding and replace myself quicker. But I told ChatGPT, well, it wasn't ChatGPT, it's actually GitHub AI, but I told the tool to do the work because I wanted the tool to know the process so that when we got to the next stage, it would have understood what I did before. So I didn't interfere in the code myself, but I did interfere in blatant hints saying, you need to change this. Name of this variable here is dealing with Bitfocus Companion. That is incompatible with my system. You need to change that to this. But then I let it do the changes so that it followed the process through. And that way it understood when we got to the end what we were doing and why we were doing it. So that's it. This is my revolution. I sat down with my friends at Zoom, our Zoom developers. We have a fortnightly drop-in when we have a chat. And I told them of my terrible things I was going to do to their software, how I was going to make it available to the common man, anybody who had a reasonable idea of how Zoom worked and had a tool, an AI tool that could help them code. I was going to help them build their own little apps, their own features, add the tools that Zoom hasn't got around to adding. They just said, yeah, sounds like a good idea. I was hoping somebody would thought, start crying or worried look, but no, they said, yeah, we're thinking of going that way anyhow. So if you have a hardware product or a software product, you better make sure it is interoperable with anything, because it's up to us now to decide what you connect to. It's a buyer's market, and you production professionals are the buyers. And if something doesn't work, if there's an API or other piece of software or hardware glue, maybe it's a protocol converter. The API is the start. But it could be electronic. It doesn't matter. As long as it's there. As long as there's a way for you to take the technology from one product and connect it to the other product you want to use. And if you can't, those products, I believe, are going to lose out big time. So if you think you can create some software, the walled garden, then your flowers are going to die because we're not going to come and cultivate them. Gosh, that analogy doesn't really work. But I know somebody who does work. So Mike, I'm pretty sure that your technology is going to work in this new version of the world with a little bit of glue and apps and connectivity between it. Am I right?
Maybe. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yes. Yes. Through the many discussions, not only with our own products, but with our brands that we distribute, I influence them more and more to make sure that they have open capabilities and that it is, not necessarily open source. I'm not telling them to give away the farm. I'm not telling them to give away all their secrets, but I'm saying the more interoperability. Oh, did I actually get that out? And almost didn't slur. Seriously. So the interoperability of their products with other, so they have to be friends. So now we're going to a park, back to the old analogy of the 70s and 80s, heaven forbid. Everybody goes to the park, and now we're going into the sandbox, and we're all going to play nice together. We're all going to bring our own tools to the sandbox. We're going to bring our own shovels, our own pails. We're going to be able to do all nicey things, and heaven forbid, we're going to get along. We're going to be able to talk to each other while we're doing the sandcastles. We're going to be able to do all that stuff. Well, what's the difference in the audio and video world? Should be nothing. But it's been the mentality for years, if not even decades, to be able to have, we only want you to buy our stuff. Great. But as John said, it's the buyer's market nowadays. You're not going to tell me what I want to use, and you're not going to tell me what I'm going to buy from you. And you're not going to force me to stay in your ecosystem anymore. That's where it is.
Yeah, definitely. And there are possibly enough manufacturers, but if any of them get to general, they're going to be in trouble. As you know, if you go down the, I can do anything price, it's not going to work, is it? Because there are too many Chinese and Asian places you can buy the same core technology. And if you want to produce a switcher, well, just take Blackmagic. We love Blackmagic, but they're also really good, for example. So Blackmagic could compete with all these new video switchers at the bottom end of the market. But that would just be a race to the bottom. And there's always going to be a manufacturer who's going to turn up who's happy to be cheaper than you. Probably not as reliable. Probably not going to have the same level of support and reliability than you. So it's no good trying to compete with them because you're always going to lose. And you lose the worst if you actually do compete with them because you're going to try and keep your quality product and they can produce a much simpler and cheaper product, which for some users will be their first purchase and will be suitable for them. I noticed Blackmagic even making a comment about their ATEMs and their new constellations. And now they've got their 2110 versions. Oh, they do look sexy. With the airflow front to back. What do I hear them saying? You can run this 24/7. So they know the limitations of their existing technology and they are keeping to quality. And I think Roland, you could probably give me another 6 or 7 audio and video manufacturers, Mike. They all need to have something special that we need so that we have a particular need for them in a particular place or a particular setup. And then they need to have the courage to allow us to take the data from one place and send it in somewhere else. Walled gardens don't work, which is why I have a bit of a peeve at the moment for Wavelink, because I think Wavelink is really cool. But when you install it on a machine, it basically just takes over all your audio. And although that's helpful, I don't like hardware or software that takes over my technology, because it then means I'm now limited sometimes when I use their software, because I then can't do other things that I used to do to route my audio around. So I may decide that it's not worth the effort and it's more trouble than it's worth. this is why we like to see what happens to Fairlight. Because Fairlight is a product from Blackmagic, which could change the way people think. If it allows you to control your ATEM switches around your network from one place, but it allows you to control your switches, so the switches keep the audio inside them and don't have to bounce them up somewhere and back down, that could be a really cool thing. I want my audio to be remote controlled and to be manipulated just the way my video is. I don't want to have to bring all my audio into a central place, play around with it, and then send it back out. That gives me a nightmare of getting things wired up, and it gives me a lag. I have an ATEM switcher because I like them, but I have a video switcher that switches my videos for me. And it happens over there on the switcher. I don't have to bring it into my computer through some video card and then send it back out. If I did, that would be running a software switcher. I have it over there doing it. I expect my Rode to change the volume knobs remotely, and they don't do that. I'm just trying to check in my head. No, they don't do that, do they? You can't get a Rode to change its volume remotely. They want you to install some software and then you bring it in and then you take it back out again. It's not good enough. It's not going to work. You guys need to be able to allow us to remotely control things, because in our world, we love Stream Deck and other button-based devices, don't we, Mike? I mean, it really it doesn't matter what you look at. Even when we have a TV nightly news program called Newsnight, and for some reason, I'm guessing because the studio is still in use by the people before, but they never hold the they never do the pre-show in the studio. They do it sitting on the control desk. It looks cool to them. They think it looks cool. But there is the BBC, one of the biggest broadcasting corporations in the world. No, it's not. It's the British Broadcasting Corporation, but it could be the biggest broadcasting corporation. And it's quite often I'll notice there'll be a Stream Deck somewhere on the desk. You look at the production of the Olympics, there were Stream Decks all over the place. These are really useful units because they allow you to take the most important controls of all your tech that is around you and bring it onto a little box with a few buttons. That is a game changer for everybody. That just makes life so much easier for anyone. And if I can't control your device with one of these, I just might go and look for somebody else that I can, because I don't want to keep changing computers and loading up software just to change one button. Yeah, you've got lovely software and it's fantastic and I will use it. But there are times when I just need to start. I need a lower third to appear. I don't want to go to a lower third app to do that. I want to press a button. I need the whole studio lights to come on, and I can't do that here because these don't have interoperability. Come on, Godox, join the campaign. Let's have some lights that work on a button. Your PTZ cameras, Mike, for instance, they are OSC compatible, aren't they? So if I want the camera to zoom in, zoom out, or you want to do that, you can just press a button. You don't have to go into that particular piece of software to do it.
Correct. Very, very close. It's not OSC that we actually use. It's because again, we're in the PTZ world. It's actually called Visca, which is the old PTZ capabilities that used to be just strictly wired. Heaven forbid, everybody sit down. Visca over IP. So I'm doing a Visca call over the network so that magically my camera can go from this preset to that preset, from this position to that position. Is it instantaneous like regular Visca? No. But that is the situation that you live with, because again, networking is automatically going to have some form, one way or another, of latency, because I hit the button, it has to go on the network, it has to go to that machine on the network and tell it to do something. And in our case of the cameras, because it is VISCA over IP, there is a translator in our cameras that translate the IP part to the VISCA command to the machine to actually move the motors, right?
Yeah.
So that is normal in any PTZ based network.
Yeah, but that's okay.
situation.
Because
It is okay.
the lag is from me commanding it to make it do something. The perception of the person watching whatever it is, the TV show, the webinar, or whatever it is, they're not going to see a lag because they won't know that it took half a second after me pressing the button for it all to happen. They'll just see
No.
the camera pan to its next position.
Right. And again, too, if you are, in the production world too, and you want that effect, great. But if you don't want that effect, of course, you do two different situations of, okay, the shot like this, and then you cut away, and then you come back. You
Yeah.
just have to cut away long enough so that the PTZ can do, and all of a sudden it looks like you got two different cameras. But yet you gave that millisecond of the motors to get it from one situation to another. And yes, this
Yeah.
can be done over NDI and other future protocols as well. We'll get to the point of, yes, I'll be able to hit that button and it will, one way or another, cameras, equipment will respond as long as the capabilities are built into the actual physical gear, John. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're talking about today.
Okay, so BitFocus Companion, you can have a layer. I'm sure it's the wrong word, but I always think of it as a layer of commands. You have a set of layers, which are a set of commands. Now, those set of commands could be, as you say, tell a PTZ camera to change to another direction.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then a switcher would then switch, and then maybe a microphone would be enabled. And those are three completely different pieces of equipment, which
Yeah.
might belong to three completely different manufacturers, but
Yeah.
you want to be able to do one action and they will all then just appear. You can't do that if you've got to go and scroll over a mouse over here and a mouse over there and an app over there. You need it to be remotely controlled. I'm sorry, I'm going to catch you out here, but in my perfect world that I'm designing, I would probably want to upload a set of presets to a camera, because one show I may have a set of presets to do one thing, and another show I may have presets to do something different. Maybe another show I'm standing up over there. And if I'm standing up over there, I need the presets to be where I'm going to be standing. If I'm going to be standing up doing a presentation with my pointy stick, well, my clicker, but my pointy stick laser type thing, maybe I want to go and stand next to my TV where I'm going to bring you in as a TV image. And then the audience is going to see you, overlaid in some other way, but I'm going to go and stand over there so I can watch the TV and I can then talk to you as if you're really there, and the audience won't see the TV because it'll be off screen. They will just see the inserted image of you.
Right. Yeah.
And,
yes.
and all these examples are multi products working together. So you need some tool that allows you to activate those things, and it will all just happen automatically.
Right. So so again, as John is talking to me here, I'm actually getting ready to do a semi little demo here, but yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to, you could do it a couple of different ways in your situation, John. Again, because a lot of the cameras, including ours, we actually have up to 99 presets. So you could potentially have a lot of different positions that you can actually internally, and again, these presets are stored within the camera. So in the camera, you shut it off, you bring it to a different location, those presets will be there. Now, that being said, you will have to probably realign everything because you're in a different location. But if you're in the same location all the time and you put it in the exact same spot, because the X, Y, Z coordinates have been set within the camera, it says X axis, Y axis, Z axis, right, is this, but you might have to tweak it a little bit, and that's where you would just bring in And again, through Companion, you could actually, we've actually built it in so you could actually move in as you hit the Companion button, it'll move it just slightly. So you don't even really need a joystick unit. So yes, we've taken that into consideration in building our cameras as well to make sure that our Companion module that will be available once we launch our cameras will also be able to not only do presets, it'll be able to make presets, recall presets, and also be able to fine tune you so you don't actually need a joystick. You could actually just do, as long as you use one of our BentFocus Companion pages that we actually have per model, it will actually then do up, down, left, right, and angle as if you actually had a physical joystick. We've already built that into what we potentially are going to launch when we launch our Companion module. So as I was saying to John, so I'll do a quick example of, let me just get myself full screen so everybody can see us. Where am I? There we go. We'll use this. Oh, yeah, which just turned me around a different way. Anyway, so yeah, so in this regard, so what you'll see now is that it'll cut over to me. Yes, I will disappear momentarily. There we go. Whoosh, there I go. So the magic of television, I'm in a different camera now. And then I will cut back to myself. And now I'll hit one of my Stream Deck buttons. And that same camera now, I will automatically go back to it now. And there I am. But does it look like two different cameras? It was the same camera. So, you know, it can be done. And that is just, now I could have, you know, again, shown you how it actually physically moves. And let me just call that up again. So there we go. So we're calling that, and there it goes. And that's, again, showing what it looked like as it's doing it. And then, of course, I have my preset. But again, I hit all this. But all it took was for me to cut away for a few seconds to another shot quickly and then come back. But yeah, that all is minus doing, I do have my PTZ controller here too, hardware controller too. But to do a quick demo, because again, we're doing this on the fly, I do have that preset. It is a preset in the camera, both of them. But I don't have that in my Companion as a button on the current page that I'm on. But I could.
Yeah.
It's there.
So this revolution is not going too well. Well, it's going very well. That's the problem, isn't it? Everybody I'm throwing this out at, they're just going, yeah, we think you should do that. Yeah, we're going that way, and you are the same. The market is creeping in that direction, and rather than just waiting for them all to do it, as content creators, as videographers, as production professionals, whichever version of the hat that you're wearing, we are all creating events. They may be for ourselves, they may be for others. They may be face-to-face, they may be online. They may be both face-to-face and online. But we are no longer held down by what a particular manufacturer thinks we should do. We now have the option to do what we like and to make things smoother. And when you do things like I do, the 100 webinar challenge, where you're going to do 100 webinars, you've got to think of ways that save time. So how do I have all the cameras set up to do the different shows in different ways? How do I not have to spend hours setting up and pulling down? When you are doing venues, you've got that problem. But I know, because you show them off all the time, you are more and more now taking boxes with all the paraphernalia all built into some trolley, and you wheel it in, and it's all wired up. You don't plug each plug in one by one every time you go to a venue anymore, do you? You take the whole thing made up. Or the guys that really show off, you just have it loaded into a truck and you just take the truck there. And that's like just picking up your office and driving it to the venue and then parking it outside. And it's all there and it's all done. And of course, now with all this great big fat internet we've got, you don't even have to take the entire office. You can leave half of it behind, and through the power of the internet, you can just collect all your data, all your cameras, all your audio, all the other stuff, and you can feed it back to head office, and head office can do all the mixing and all the clever stuff there. You don't even have to take them. They don't even get a chance for a day out. They get to stay in the office instead. I think it's a wonderful time to be in production. And the thing is that it's now available at so many levels. I got an annoy Mike now. You can start off with I didn't bring it up. You can start off with a simple webcam. And then maybe you'll use one of these, one of the little boys, the little cheap ones. And then you'll find it moves, and that will get you to think about other things. And then you'll see sense, as we'd all say, and you'll get a proper camera. But that's what? Same sort of price as some of those. But a proper camera, $400 or $500, is all you need to start with. There is such a difference between a webcam and a proper camera for the color depth and the realism and all that stuff. And suddenly you don't have to use software to make your background look blurred because the camera does it properly. It's just an enormous step forward. And then you start mixing in some graphics. We all know how simple that is, but it can be time consuming to set up. But if you can have it pre-programmed, and that's what I'm looking at, you create your slides and then you upload the data to your slides and you upload the data to your lower thirds and they build themselves automatically. Of course, if you got about 200 grand, there are companies like Visarti and Blackmagic's top-end stuff that'll do this for you. But most of us are not in a multi-million dollar 10, 15, 20, 30 people type events. We need to do it with 3 to 5 techs at most. And we only need extra techs when we've got to follow something like a ball or a puck or something else around, and we need camera operators to physically move stuff around to follow things. Because AI can't do that reliably. We know that. It tries, but it can't. Otherwise, you should be able to get a production done with 2 or 3 people. If you've got 5 cameras, you can cope with 2 or 3 people. If those cameras are fixed, you just flick from one camera to another. I know cameras are expensive, but they're a lot cheaper than an employee. And I'm not trying to get everybody sacked. Because as I said, there is way, 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 way more people out there who want a reasonably priced production team to come in and take their events to the next level. There is plenty of business out there if you set your stall out and then don't chase everything. Just go for a niche of something you're going to be good at. Maybe you're going to be good at sports. Maybe you're going to be good at a particular sport. Maybe you're going to be good at speaker events. Maybe you're going to be good at podcasts. You've got to take all of this tech and make it work. But again, you still want to have something that you are special for, just in the way that the manufacturers need to have something they're special for. The difference is you've still got to provide an end-to-end solution because people can't work this stuff out. If they're running 2 events a year, they're going to love you if you can do all the preparation at the beginning, help them get all the ticket sales, give them a platform that does all of that, and then gives them the reports at the other end. They're going to love you because you've just taken another problem away from them. But you need to have your specialization. We all do. Because if you're mediocre in this world, you're nothing. Let's be honest. If you want mediocre, you just give it all to AI, don't you? I mean, let's be honest. Mediocre is now no longer an option for anybody in any type of industry. And this industry is the same. We can't be mediocre as production professionals. The companies that we use to put together our particular setup can't be mediocre either. They've got to provide quality content, quality equipment, quality software. And if you can't make it work easily in your world, there are plenty now of audio manufacturers, of software manufacturers, of video manufacturers, of camera manufacturers. Although I expect Mike would tell us that most of them still come from the same factory somewhere. They're still using the same base components. It's just how well they put the bits together around those components that matter. You choose what's best for you. And then without knowing it, you've joined my revolutions. Congratulations. You are subversive. You didn't know it, but that's the way we're going. And I wonder who the winners are going to be, who the losers are going to be, which manufacturers are going to get with the program, which manufacturers are not. And of course, when we say API, that could be OSC or any of the other protocols, but you've got to get protocols that allow you to communicate with other systems in the ecosystem of production. And if you don't, you're dead. Our little mate, got to mention him, our little mate Andy, has been running around because he saw this coming too. And he's been making sure that Zoom can connect to all these other tools. I wonder how many other manufacturers are taking the time to run around and make sure their equipment works with others. I know VizRT has been running around getting their production stuff to work with other technologies. I know that Blackmagic is pretty good at connecting to other technologies. Actually, thinking about it, most of the manufacturers are doing quite well so far. I say so far because what I'm worried about is they have to choose when they stop making products. Where do they stop and let somebody else take over? And as I said earlier, if they don't, then they are at risk of being an Adobe. And if you are too general, by the way, I still think Adobe products are fantastic. But if you're too general or you're seen by the market as too general, then other manufacturers and companies can come along and they can pick off a little niche, a little part of your pie. And if too many of them turn up taking different parts of your pie, you're in trouble. Blackmagic have just added image editing to their tool because they said a lot of people want to do the color grading. That's fine. But they've got to be careful not to keep going and adding more and more features. Otherwise, somebody could come along and take their crown. They need a core reason for every product that they have. Every manufacturer needs a reason why a particular product exists. You can't have a product just for the sake of having a product, says he, looking at the ridiculous range of Stream Decks he has in front of him, for instance. But actually, each Stream Deck I have on my desk has a particular reason to exist, including the one under my desk, which has a reason to exist because I can press my foot down on that one. On this one, I've got the dinky one. So this has got my most used buttons, like mute and unmute and camera up and camera down and applause. And, the buttons that I need, you can't see applause because we're in production studio and they don't show that. But the buttons here are the most used buttons I use for my zooming. So I can move this around my desk and I have what I need. I have another one here that has the basic apps that I want to control. And that works fine there. And then I have the ridiculously big one because, got to have the ridiculously big one, haven't you? But this has a use as well. Not for this show. Don't need it for this show. But when I'm editing stuff, I make use of the buttons and the twisty knobs and all the things to make that work. Everything has a particular niche or reason for existing. And if it doesn't, it will just get squished by something else. I'm trying to find something that's going to get squished.
Uh-oh.
Actually, I can't see anything that's going to get squished here. So I'm quite tidy. Quite impressed.
That means you're
I thought
leading
it was
me.
gonna Yeah, I need a squish meme. What we're going to squish today? No, I can't find anything that needs to be squished. So I've got I could downstairs in the other office. I've got lots of things that are getting squished. But here, no, there's nothing getting squished. There are some new hardware turning up, hopefully, on Monday or Tuesday to allow me to get the two offices to work together seamlessly. So I could have demonstrated that software, but I can't do it today. Sorry. But we are enjoying the revolution. I was hoping to be a little bit more controversial, but as I said, I haven't yet found anybody who doesn't agree. I'm sure I will. I'm sure somebody will say, oh, you can't do that because we do this in our software and you can't do it in somebody else's. Well, I'm sorry. It's up to me to choose. And because of the technology, because of the interoperability, because of AI, we can do this now. I don't think we could ever do this before, except when the world first started, when literally you had to wire things up and plug them together. When the industry first started, there was only like one camera you could use. There was only one network card that really worked. There was only one, well, there wasn't one network because there was token ring and Ethernet. So maybe even then there was a chance for you to choose exactly what you wanted at that end of the market. Choice wasn't as big, but there were things there and you plugged them together and you got them to work. COVID gets blamed for a lot of things. AI is getting blamed for a lot of things now as well. There's a lot of companies who are not investing in their future and just chucking in a few AI commands to try and pretend that they've moved forward. I've heard say that the camera industry has got to a point, Mike, where the cameras and the sensors and everything have got to such a level that it's getting difficult to work out what to do next to make them to take another level. The TV industry has got the same problem, I think, with the tech, that it's got to a point now with all the technology that runs screens and things that they're finding it difficult now to work out what to do next, except to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. But they've got a bit stuck. The internet world has got a bit stuck because still a lot of it runs on 1080p because it's just such a mountain to climb in tech to go from a little HDMI screen to a 4K. It's such a volume of information to process, whether it's inside the device or going down the internet or up and down cables. It's such a big jump to go to 4K, let alone, 8K. Most of the 8K TVs are not even made anymore. They've stopped selling them to the retail because they're just ridiculously big pictures that nobody needs and nobody can afford to put all the infrastructure in to support them. So the only way you're going to succeed now, if the tech is got to the point where we don't know where to push it, is to persuade people that you should be part of their system, whatever their system is going to be. That's my take on it. NAB and all the other shows we've had this year, they were boring. It wasn't that. There's nothing really. I think tech's stuck, doesn't know what to do. Technology is reaching the boundaries of a lot of stuff. We've even got companies who are blaming AI for sacking lots of people because they can't find any other way to make money, so they'll just cut costs, and then they're using AI as an excuse. Bad news for them. Good news for us. I think when I was looking for these little bits of hardware I need, I don't think I saw anything that wasn't on Amazon with discounts.
Yeah, that's very true, John. Especially currently with all of the audio, video, lighting, streaming media, musical instruments, all of these industries. Yes, streaming media is sort of in there too, which includes Zoom and any other video platform. Excuse me. So yeah, you're 100% right, John. We're right now, a lot of it is wait and see. A lot of it is technologies being used elsewhere for our friends at AI. So all of a sudden now that's going to hurt everybody else manufacturing wise, because we all need chips, and all the chips right now are being swallowed by AI or AI companies, because it's not the AI manufacturers. As long as you're a AI server manufacturer, you've got chips. If you are everybody else, you're on a waiting list. So as long as we can sneak in here, there might be something new. And again, as you saw as we were talking about Blackmagic, they were able to sneak in just in time. And even then, they can't guarantee what the actual prices will be when they actually start shipping the mystery units that we saw at NAB, that they let you touch and feel and go, ooh, ah. But they actually don't know if they're actually going to commit to shipping them on the dates that they say they're going to do it. Because right now they don't know if they've got all the ports, or so not the ports, but the parts. There we go. To make sure that they can actually fulfill orders, right? And being from that world that I am, is that, it's as long as you are making everything, the more that you're making everything in-house yourself, the more you're not affected. But the more that you start using other things, other parts outside of your manufacturing process, then chances are 9 times out of 10, you're going to be affected somewhere, somehow. Memory, storage, because everything has to have storage. My presets and my cameras have to have a little chip that stores those presets. It might not be huge, but it's a chip. And then John said, when it comes to the video sensors, yes. Well, video sensors in the end are chips, right? They, as much as everybody goes, oh no, no, you're not seeing the actual sensor. The actual sensor that actually gets soldered to a board. That is, in the end, as long as the camera manufacturers have getting the parts to make those sensors, then we're good. The Sonys, the Panasonics, et cetera, so the Canons, et cetera, right? So as long as they can still do what they need to do, the sensors are okay. But now it's coming down to motherboards, or the boards that those actual physical chips go to, right? RAM, CPU, storage. Those are all affected by AI. And you'll say, but Mike,
so
it doesn't take that much to go into the camera, and it is. John, say again. Sorry.
So people aren't buying because there's nothing to buy because they haven't got anything to buy. So that's why I think all the ancillary things like HDMI converters and those sort of things are being discounted because nobody's buying anything that they need to new to connect to.
Yeah.
So all the lesser parts and the lesser, the odds and spares and all the little bits that just make up things like cables and connectors and stuff like that, they seem to be discounting. And I'm assuming they're discounting because if nobody's buying any of the big end cameras or the mixers or whatever, they don't need new converters or cables because they've got nothing new to connect to. So that end of the market is discounting because there's obviously no sales going out there. Blackmagic have done a good thing because they've got a high value product now. So although they don't have many stock of all those chips and all the memory devices and the other things that they need, at least they're going to put them into high value products. And therefore they'll get a good return on their investment for those particular parts. But yeah, we've got this chip shortage. We've got a energy crisis. People are not going to spend because they're going to be worried about costs. The people we maybe do productions for are not going to do so many events because of costs, but they'll still want to do events. So this could be a boom for everybody who's got the ability to do online events because suddenly doing an online event's back in vogue. We're back to COVID situations again. We're talking about people staying at home to save petrol. Well, if they stay at home to save petrol, then we'll have to deliver online webinars for them. And they're going to have to be better quality online webinars because everybody's going to be doing it. So it's a competitive marketplace. You need to do the best webinar to make sure that people turn up to your webinar or your customer's webinar.
Right, exactly. But what we are still seeing, John, to be honest, is what we call in the production industry consumables. So that would be gaff tape, that would be batteries, that would be cables. But again, usually this is the mid to large production companies that will be buying cables constantly because they're going through them, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're a mid to lower production company, you may or may not buy a new cable every so often, right? Because eventually that cable is going to get stepped on, cut accidentally, something's going to happen somewhere, right? But a lot of the larger production companies that our dealers sell to, they will go, yeah. A lot of them will actually even, and this is a suggestion to our viewers here on the Production Power Hour people, is that, you have to treat your cables as if they are a consumable. And what I mean by a consumable is that if you use it for that event and you don't use them again and you throw them away, some of the mid to large guys have no problem with that. So if the cable lasts to another event, great. But what they do is they purposely, in their actual budgets for their events, they will budget to make sure that X amount of cables that they're actually using for the event could be thrown away at the end.
Good point.
I know that sounds scary, but a lot of these guys take that into consideration automatically because they just go through it, right? And again, if you're a low to mid production company, not necessarily, you'll do your best to make sure that the cables last you as long as possible because you're getting your return on investment, right? Your ROI, ROI. Great. But again, a lot of these companies that just go through the cables constantly, their ROI, they've already made sure that it's budgeted within their actual event that, I need 50 25-foot XLR cables for microphones. That's a no-brainer for them. That just, that's a line item for them, right? That just becomes gone. It's an automatic expense. But again, if you're low to mid, it becomes more of an asset, right? So then that's where you have to draw the line between the two. But yes, we still are seeing dealers asking for, gaff tape. So that's the protective tape for making sure that people don't trip on your cables, gang. Make sure people don't trip on your cables. And you're gaffing that down to the, location so that it's not a trip hazard. And also batteries, of course, wireless related batteries, wireless microphones constantly. If you don't have again, a lot of the mid to high will use, you know, they'll go through AAAs, AA's, 9-volt batteries constantly. They just don't want to invest in these units that has the rechargeable battery, because they have to then worry about recharging that unit. Then they might have forgot to recharge the unit. Now they got to the venue. Now the unit is useless because we didn't recharge it at home in the warehouse before we brought it. So again, there's all the different gear levels, right? So that would be equivalent to, you know, how John has showed us here, the wireless go. A lot of the mid to high won't even touch the wireless go. But yet you saw with NAB recently where Rode came out with the unit, and that unit actually has a replaceable chargeable battery, right? So they're already starting to think of, like, the pro world will accept taking out a unit and they understand, you know, if the battery's getting low, they want to be able to swap it out. They don't want to be able to swap out the whole microphone system because it's getting low on power. So that's, yeah, but that type of stuff is still happening. But when it comes to buying the physical cameras, if the cameras suffice, you know, are good enough for all the events that they are doing, no, there isn't that much of a push to buy a lot of different gear, especially if the kit that they've built to this point gets them the jobs that they need to get done.
Yep. So there you have it. An interesting year this is going to be. And lots of opportunities. Lots of new things to bring to customers who've never thought of stuff before. There's a big jump from, as I said earlier, a webcam to a proper camera. And once you see the difference, you don't really want to go back. One of our friendly Zoomies has just gone through that experience. And what did he say in the next show? He complimented me on my camera. Why did he compliment me on my camera? Because at the previous show, when he showed off his new camera, I made sure that I was using a less effective webcam so that he could see the difference. And of course, at the next show, I went back to my standard proper camera, and he could then see the difference.
It makes a difference. It absolutely makes a difference. You know, going from the webcam world up to a semi-professional, if not a prosumer, or even a professional camera, there's all the different grades, right? You're not going to get the best sensors in the world in a prosumer camera. You're just not. The cost is going to be way too expensive. So if you're looking for the best sensor out there right now, you know, which is the 1-inch that everybody wants to have, you're not going to get it in a webcam. Because the sensor
But there's
itself,
a big difference between a little sensor and a proper camera sensor. Big difference.
Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Yes. You know, even though we haven't got the huge 1-inch sensors in our cameras, which means that they need a bigger body and they need a bigger lens and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, just to get the same quality or at least comparable quality into the camera. There, you know, the camera grade that you saw today from both of my, you know, this camera here and the camera that I demoed earlier, they look identical and they are the identical sensors. Are they identical cameras? No, but I'm making sure that they're identical sensors to make sure that, you know, if you do stay within our little ecosystem, and that's me going that close without being that friendly, you know, if you stay within our ecosystem, you're going to always have all the same sensors. Some other manufacturers, you may not. Then all of a sudden you're going, why doesn't it look this way? Why does it look that way in this camera, but it looks that way in this camera? Because they're usually 9 times out of 10 different sensors. It might be the same lenses, it might be the same mechanics, it might be the same motors, it might be the same motherboard, it might be saying everything else. But all you need to change is that sensor, and all of a sudden you're like, Why does the color look so different?
Yeah.
And that's been one important thing that we are doing to make sure before we launch our cameras is to make sure that the sensors are all standardized based on X manufacturer, based on X size of sensor. And when we come to market, if you interchange our cameras, it'll be basically, what is that camera going to do for you? Not what is the camera made for? And then I'm going to put that sensor there and another sensor over there and another sensor over there and another sensor over there for all those different 4 cameras. Because some manufacturers, even though you're buying that name, you're actually potentially buying 4 different sensors.
Well, that's it then. Choose your technology with care. Make sure it works with everything else. You don't want to get some new toy and then have to throw out everything else and start again. What Blackmagic have with 2110. And we all have when we change from one protocol or one system to another. Thankfully, most stuff works with most other stuff. So the ecosystem is pretty broad. Now you just have to choose something that you personally like and that suits your requirements and those of your customers. But it's got a lot easier this year to solve the glue issue between one app and another than it ever has. And that's got to be good news for all of us. Join the revolution. Be part of the revolution. And if you got the skills, you can code for the revolution too. I will leave Mike to say his immortal words. But thank you all for watching.
Absolutely. So don't forget everyone, we're here every Friday at noon Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, or 9 a.m. I almost did it again, John. 9 a.m. Pacific. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to make sure that you let YouTube know how much you love our content. And we'll see you again next week. You never know what Johnny and I have cooked up here on the Production Pro Power. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Come on, yeah. Lights go up and the cameras roll. Voices clear and we're in control. Screens are live and the signals flow. Welcome to the place where the pros all go. Talking gear and the tools we trust. What works well and what gathers dust. From the studio floor to the online stage, we bring the knowledge page by page. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every shot and every note. Better system, sharper sound. This is where the best is found. It's the Protection Professionals Power Hour. Building better shows with skill and power. Live hybrid online too. Sharing what the experts do. Hardware, software, tested live. Helping every production thrive. Step inside, the future's now. Welcome to the Power Hour. Switches, streaming, mics and light, making every moment land just right. Guests and makers join the conversation, bringing insight, crafting innovation. From the first idea to the final frame, every tool can change the game. Manufacturers, pros and brands, sharing real solutions firsthand. Live or hybrid, in room or remote. Every cue and every note. Smarter workflow, stronger shows. That's the way the power grows. It's the Production Professionals Power